The dirty history of perfume. Why white people invented it instead of taking baths. Let's take it back to the year 1190, Paris. Perfume wasn't a glamorous luxury item. It wasn't tucked into dainty crystal bottles or worn to fancy galas. It was survival, a weapon, a mask, a deception. Today, when we think of perfume, we think of seduction. Of luxury perfumes like Chanel No. 5. We think of compliment-worthy scents spritzed behind the ears or on the wrists, something elegant, feminine, powerful. But what if I told you the real reason perfume became so popular in white European society had nothing to do with elegance, and everything to do with hiding the fact that people were filthy? This is the dark history of perfume, and the disturbing truth white folks don't like to talk about. Scope News presents, viewer discretion is advised. Back in medieval Europe, the average person bathed maybe once every several months, if that. Some thought water would weaken the body or even invite disease. This wasn't a fringe theory, it was mainstream science at the time. Bathing was considered dangerous. In fact, many believed that hot water would open the pores and allow disease in, so they sealed themselves up, figuratively and literally, with layers of oils, fabrics, powders, and eventually, perfume. Let's make this real clear. Perfume wasn't for enhancement. It was for concealment. They were covering stench, straight up funk. Weeks of sweat, spoiled food, feces, rotting teeth, infected wounds, unwashed booty. Instead of washing, they doused themselves in scented oils, herbs, or alcohol-based mixtures. They stuffed potpourri into their sleeves, their corsets, their wigs. That phrase, masking the odor, it came from this very practice. Even royalty reeked. Queen Elizabeth I reportedly powdered herself daily with rose-scented pastes, but rarely bathed. King Louis XIV of France supposedly hated bathing and was known to stink. His court? No better. The Palace of Versailles smelled so bad that visitors described walking through clouds of human waste and old body odor, with rooms filled with stagnant air and no sewage systems. And what fixed this? Not soap, not water, scent. That's when the perfume industry really took off. Now, while white Europeans were dousing themselves in oils instead of taking baths, it's worth asking, what were African societies doing? In many African and indigenous cultures, hygiene wasn't just about cleanliness, it was spiritual. It was daily. It was deliberate. The Yoruba had herbal steam baths. The Akan used shea butter and black soap. In East Africa, people used sand, herbs, and water to scrub the skin every single day. Hygiene was part of life, not a dangerous luxury. And here's the jaw-dropping part. White colonists would later call African and native peoples dirty, all while arriving with lice, open sores, and disease. Diseases like smallpox, measles, and tuberculosis followed them. Entire indigenous tribes were wiped out. Africans on slave ships died not just from beatings, but from filth and disease. The colonists weren't washing themselves. They weren't washing the people they enslaved. But they called everyone else unclean. Fast forward to today, and the hypocrisy still lingers. You've probably heard it. Maybe it was a viral podcast clip, maybe a TikTok confession, maybe a comedian on a late-night show. White influencers proudly declaring they don't wash their legs, that they don't use washcloths, that they only spot clean. And they say it with a laugh like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, perfume is still being used the same way, to cover, not to cleanse. Luxury brands make millions selling scents to people who don't even wash daily. Oud, musk, jasmine, layered on instead of lathered off. But talk to a black grandmother? She'll tell you, ain't no perfume in the world that replaces hot water, soap, and a rag. That's not just personal care, it's cultural pride. That's why the washcloth debate wasn't just funny. It hit a nerve. It was about legacy. So while white society focused on masking, black culture focused on cleansing. And let's not ignore where those perfumes came from in the first place. Frankincense, Somalia, myrrh, Ethiopia, patchouli, India, jasmine, Egypt, ambergris, a whale secretion, but extracted and processed by laborers on colonized islands. Many of the core ingredients in high-end European perfumes were stolen, sourced, or exploited from colonized nations. The perfumers, white, the labor, black and brown. We know the names of European brands, Chanel, Saint Laurent, Coty, Guerlain, but not the names of the hands that picked the flowers or strained the oils. The same people whose land and labor made perfume possible were the ones labeled unclean. That's the colonial perfume pipeline, and it's a hard truth to swallow. There's another ugly layer to this too. In the early 1900s, white researchers claimed black people smelled worse than white people. They ran sweat studies. They wrote racist pseudoscience. They claimed African Americans had animalistic odors. Never mind that black workers were living in overcrowded homes without access to proper plumbing. Never mind they were working 12-hour shifts in factories or fields. Never mind that even under those conditions, many were still bathing more regularly than the elites who mocked them. It was projection, it was deflection, it was racism masked as science. And even now you see who gets celebrated in fragrance ads. White women running through meadows, white men riding motorcycles in leather. You'll rarely see a dark-skinned woman fronting a perfume ad unless her name is Beyoncé or Rihanna and she funded it herself. But when you look at the numbers, black consumers, especially black women, spend billions on beauty and fragrance every year. And yet, we're underrepresented in the commercials, in the marketing rooms, in the fragrance labs. And the real slap in the face? Back in the days of slavery, black women were perfumed against their will. Enslavers rubbed oils and pastes on their bodies to mask the smell of abuse and torment before putting them on display for sale. Their dignity was stolen and then scented to hide the truth. So let's bring it back to today. The next time someone says, "You smell good," you might smile. But you might also ask yourself, what are they really smelling? Is it survival? Is it culture? Is it pride? Or is it a lie passed down through centuries? A lie that started when filth was covered in flowers. Perfume didn't begin with beauty. It began with stench, with death, with denial. And the truth behind it is still hanging in the air. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. Historical hygiene practices during medieval Europe have been well documented by researchers in anthropology and public health, including findings published by the Wellcome Trust and Oxford Medicine. The French court's infamous stench has been written about in works like The Essence of Perfume by Roja Dove and The Secret of Chanel No. 5 by Tilar Mazzeo. Black cultural hygiene practices, including African black soap and steam rituals, are detailed in ethnobotanical and anthropological archives. The modern washcloth discourse is widely documented on social media platforms and podcasts, including viral tweets, YouTube commentary, and national headlines. And finally, the racial history of fragrance exploitation and beauty market disparities can be found in sources like Scent and Subversion by Barbara Herman and Beauty Diplomacy by Oluwakemi Balogun. Legal disclaimer. This investigative report is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes. It may contain content that is sensitive to some viewers. Scope News aims to explore historical and cultural truths to promote awareness and dialogue. Viewer discretion is advised.